All right, so if you're watching this, I'm sure you love a good deal. I mean, who doesn't? But maybe thrifting overwhelms you or you just don't know where to begin. If you've been around here for a little while, you know that I love thrifting, and I've been doing it since I was in middle school or before, probably. And I think in recent years, thrifting has actually changed a lot. So I want to share how I've been finding a lot of good success lately and how I think you can probably do better than just going to Goodwill. Nothing against Goodwill, but I will explain more. I'll also share with you what I normally spend or try to spend on certain common things that we find at thrift stores, because I think that that would be really helpful. Okay, so first off, how do you even find a thrift store? So this is my first tip. Do your research. So the way that I do this when I'm in a new area or I'm traveling and want to go thrifting is I go to Google and I just search thrift stores. And then from there, I look at all of the pictures. And I just want to make sure that it is packed. The more packed it is, I think the better the deals are and the more likely you're gonna find something that you really like. Now, if you're on vacation, you're probably not going to have time to do this or the flexibility to do this. But in my hometown, what I always do is go to the Facebook page or the Instagram. A lot of them are starting to get Instagram now. But they'll post specific new merchandise on there so that you can really see if there's something new that you want. You can even give them a call if it's a larger item that is maybe furniture, and reserve that until the end of the day and then go pick it up later, which is awesome. They also, a lot of the times, will have sales. So you want to check out their Facebook page so that you know when they have sales. A lot of them around here will have 50% off days of certain departments, and then one day out of the month or one weekend out of the month will be the entire store 50% off. And those are the days that I go. Those are the only days I allow myself to go because I just love a good deal. My second tip is to have a list. So in the same way that you would have a list when you go grocery shopping, I think it's really important. It helps you sort through all of the clutter in the thrift store if you do have a list. So the way I do this is on my phone, just constantly adding to it. I'll leave items on there for a little while before I go to Target or before I go to Amazon and have to buy something new. I would much prefer to buy something from a thrift store where it's sustainable and doesn't go to a landfill and I can give it a new life. It's also just more character. It is hard to do this, but it is so important that we take time to build our homes. And if we don't, I think it'll just look like a house. I don't know if that makes sense, but in my mind, it makes a lot of sense that it'll look decorated like a house, like a show house, but I want my house to look collected, be homey, right? And I think thrifting is a great way to find pieces that are unique and that you really, truly love and will stand the test of time. Tip number 3 is to not be afraid of leaving with nothing. I think that it can be really tempting to try to justify a trip by buying something that's $2, but here comes the lawnmower again. This is why I don't film on Mondays, and I forgot, and I'm filming on a Monday. But the lawn people are here going around the lake, so it's gonna be another 4 minutes. Pause this. It's right there now, they're doing weed whacking. Oh man. Now is nap time, so we are doing this video. Benji is probably gonna make an appearance later because that boy's been taking power naps.
Okay, I got completely distracted by that lawnmower and completely lost my train of thought. So back to this tip before we move on. So if you watch my channel and you watch other thrifting channels here on YouTube, you probably are pretty used to seeing big thrift hauls. But if we feel the need to buy something every time we go thrifting, our house will inevitably end up looking like a thrift store. It will be cluttered and it will not be functional and it will just have too much stuff. It's much better to wait for the pieces that you have a place for in your home and make sure that the items that you do buy are good quality and will last. So most of these clips are from a recent trip that I took to my previously favorite thrift store, the Goodwill, super close to where we used to live, but the pricing in here was really bad in my opinion. And we'll get into the pricing that I think is good in just a little bit, as well as how I think you can do better than Goodwill most of the time.
Obviously, you gotta make exceptions for this, but I try to spend on something that is a new item or something that I could buy new at Target or IKEA or anywhere, 1/4 of that price. So for example, baskets that are like medium size are usually I think like $20 at Target. I looked up some like comps. I try not to spend more than $5 on baskets unless they're like exactly what I need. So for tops or bottoms, something that's like a separate, I try to spend around $2 to $3. But something that's like a dress, I'm okay with spending like 5 to maybe 7 or 10. I know that is a little, 10 is like pushing it. That's like max. So I hope that helps. Probably different regionally, and so I'm interested to hear if this is similar at your thrift stores. Stay tuned because I will share with you the way that you can get everything for like less than $1. And I mean everything, like you can get anything you can imagine. Some of my favorite things that I've thrifted have been from this place. So I'll share that with you in just a little bit, but let's keep going with these tips. Well, tip number 5 is to keep in mind the longevity of an item. So when thrifting, things have already had a life. Like they've already gone through a lot probably. And so I am very conscious of brands. Not for like this fancy brand or anything, but those items have more life to them. Things that are from like fast fashion, they've already lived once and probably didn't have that great of a life, and now you're gonna bring them into your home. They're probably just on their way out. Like they are probably gonna start ripping at the seams, whatever it is. And so I really try to look for good, high quality brands that I can trust and everything that will continue to give me a little bit more life, and that I don't just end up sending right back to the thrift store. Oh gosh, that almost spilled. Whew, we got lucky. Tip number 6 is another way that I find the best thrift stores, and that is to get out of the city. I think that when you go out of the city, there's just so much more. And I think that this is because people in cities rely more on Facebook Marketplace and like selling their items online. And so they don't just donate them to the thrift store. But out of the city, people just bring everything to their local thrift store. That's where you can find a lot of better things.
So here's my theory about Goodwills recently. I think that people are becoming more conscious of where their items end up. So if they aren't going to put the time into selling an item online, then they are going to more likely look for a place that would support a good cause or be like at their church, which there are a lot of thrift stores like this. If you just look on Google, you will find many, many more than just Goodwill. So that's why I think that the items at Goodwill have been decreasing in their quality. At least this is what I have noticed in multiple Goodwills around me and Goodwills that I have visited while traveling. So let me know in the comments below if you would agree with this or if Goodwill is still a place where you can find great stuff.
Is to make a Pinterest board of the things that you really, really like in new stores. So I don't mean just going onto Pinterest. I mean going to the actual stores that you like go to Anthropologie, go to Pottery Barn, whatever the stores are that you really like, and pin the items directly from the site, because once you're on Pinterest, it like pigeonholes you into this like I am farmhouse or I am boho, whatever it is. So go directly to the stores and you will be surprised, I think, how much more creative you can be yourself and how much more unique of a Pinterest board you will end up instead of just somebody else's curated collection for you. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Pinterest. I think that we tend to use it incorrectly. Tip number 8 is to not be afraid of getting out the spray paint or the razors, the sewing needles, whatever it is, to fix up some things from thrift stores. I have a whole series on fixing my thrift finds, I call it, because not everything I find is perfect. Some things need to be taken in a little bit, or the buttons need to be reattached a little bit, or just spray painted a different color. And usually it does not take longer than like 5 minutes max. Tip number 9 is to frequent the thrift stores that you like the best. So before I had kids, I would go to some thrift stores that were like really close to my house and convenient, like twice a week, just to see what they had, because the new stuff will go quickly. The good stuff will go fast. And don't be afraid to talk to the people who work there and ask them when they put out their new things, what time of day, or is it throughout the entire day, or is it one specific day out of the week? Because you want to be there when the new stuff is out. That's when you're going to get the best deals, in addition to, of course, using those sales like we talked about before. And tip number 10, this is a little unconventional and I think it might make me look a little bit crazy in the thrift stores. So if you ever see me thrifting, you'll know what I'm doing now. So I take multiple laps around the thrift store. I'm talking like 3 or 4 laps, like circles. And I do this because it looks very overwhelming when you walk in there. It is hard to see everything. There are usually things, at least at the good stores, I think, packed and stacked on top of things. And you just have to hone your eye and be able to look through all of that clutter. Sometimes that takes multiple passes around the thrift store. But if you see something you like, you better put it in the cart or your stroller, because chances are if you go back around, it's gonna be gone. Someone else is going to have taken it. So put it all into your cart. When you're done taking your laps, then is the time to look through and really make sure that the things that you want have a place in your home or your closet, whatever it may be. So I hope these tips helped you and maybe inspired you to go thrifting like today, because I have an itch to do thrifting after talking about it for this long. If you are curious about how I find those items for all like less than $1, go ahead and check out this video because you will be shocked what I find. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and comment down below if any of these tips were helpful. Subscribe for more thrifting. You know the deal. All right, friends, I'll see you all next week. Bye.